So you mentioned it before you got to WWE, OVW, and you won a fair amount of titles there. And
I think only 10, but who's counting?
Yeah. So can you talk about that a little bit? Your first experience of walking through those doors?
When I first started, it was the Nightmare Davis School of Wrestling. Like I said, in 1996, it was in Jeffersonville, Indiana, in a really a building that was very old. Half of it had burned down, and like it was a big, like a quadrangle is what they call it. But one side was demolished, and it was an older building, you know. And it was just the most awesome thing to see. You know, once I saw the ring and the lights, I was like, oh, I'm in. You know, I was 18 years old when I first went in and checked it out. I signed up finally when I was 19, and I started wrestling. You know, I wrestled for the USWA, the Memphis promotion, before it closed down. And then I got to wrestle for WCW. All the same time I was wrestling for OVW. I wrestled for OVW from 96 to I started on TV as Eugene in 2004. But then I also went back after my run as Eugene, and I was on air, creative, training.
Yeah. And who were some of the first guys that you ran into when you got to OVW in the first years?
Well, the big influence on us was the Hustler Rip Rogers. And Rip at the time was about 42. This was in 1996. He was pretty fresh off of WCW. If you watch some of the videos from that time period, you'll see Rip on there a lot. And you know, he was bodybuilding, he was in good shape, and he just beat the bejesus out of us, you know. And in a working fashion, he was teaching us. And some of the guys weren't. Some of the guys were athletes, some of the guys weren't athletes. Some of the guys could do something performance-wise, and some of the guys couldn't, and he kind of weeded those guys out. But it was a learning experience for me. And at the same time, when I signed up, Rob Conway, who ended up wrestling for WWE, he signed up at the same time. A little bit after that, Danny and Doug Basham were training. So those were the first like homegrown guys that I encountered until 98 when the developmental guys started coming in.
Okay, and what was the atmosphere like then? Did it get more competitive, or was it already very competitive?
No, because it wasn't until right before we started getting the developmental guys that we knew anything about WWE was going to partner. So we were all just a bunch of guys wrestling in Jeffersonville, you know, having fun. You know, most of the guys went to high schools around there, and we knew each other, and you know, we aspired to be on WWE, and I think we might have had a couple of spot as extras. But it wasn't like all of a sudden now the company's going to partner with the company that you're already with. And when that happened, as the developmental talent who were much, much better athletes than most of us. And these guys were like world-class athletes. And once they started coming in, it became a bit more competitive. And some of the performers that couldn't perform as well ended up weeding their way out.
Right. No, understandably so. And so do you remember the first time you met some of those guys that you mentioned earlier, like that the famous class of 02, as people call it, Batista and Lesnar and Cena? Do you remember when they first went through those doors? Because you were there before them, right?
Yeah. And as they came in, I had a hand in the training. I was in the ring working with them. Danny Davis was the coach outside the ring. But a lot of times, as we were transitioning from that small building in Jeffersonville to the building OVW has now, which is a much better building in Louisville, there was a transition where I was doing a lot of the training myself. Rob Conway did some of the training as well, but for that time period, like Rico Constantino was the first guy to like show up, and which was Chuck and Billy's stylish Rico.
Yeah.
But Rico was a tough dude, man. He was on the American Gladiators. He won the American Gladiators. He walked on and won the American Gladiators. He was a bodyguard for Kiss and for the Faith Healer Benny Hinn's.
Oh wow!
I mean, he was like. I heard that after 9/11 happened, the air marshals went to him and wanted him to fly on the planes in disguise. I don't think he ended up doing it, but he was the first guy.
That's amazing! Wow.
You know, and then there was a guy that was 7 foot tall. There was a lot of guys that came that didn't make it. You know, there's a huge bodybuilder named I think Dave Nelson. Big Russ McCullough came, but then we got Brock, you know, and we got Batista. Randy came, Cena came, and it was like Victoria was another one. Shelton Benjamin was one of the first ones too. And these were just a class of athletes that were way ahead of us. But we were the ones that had a little bit more knowledge, so they were the ones in the ring with us. And that's how, when Cornette came down and started writing the TV, that's how he paired it. You know, the guys with a little bit of experience take the guys with less experience, and let's have a little match. And Cornette was good enough to write the TV to make it interesting. And it was a magical time.
Yeah. No, it sounds like it. It really does. They released a Ruthless Aggression documentary. I don't know if you saw it on the network, and they talked a bit about OVW with some of those stars. And I think it was Brock Lesnar who just wanted to go straight from OVW to main roster. Like he didn't want to stick around very long.
I mean, none of the guys really want to stick around very long. You know, I mean, they were from Louisville. Yeah. I was from Louisville. Some of them had families. Some of them, you know, and it wasn't that OVW was a bad place, but they wanted to be on TV because that's what they signed up to do. And I don't think there was ever any, like, some guys got upset and there was a little bit of animosity, but it was more like, I want to make it. I want to be the next one on TV. There's going to be a spot open up in the next 2 months, and I want that to be me, you know? Yeah. But, Brock didn't necessarily like talking to the fans. And the smaller independent shows are very fan-friendly. I mean, you're right there with them. And I don't believe that was one of his more favorite things that he ended up making his way there. But
woo, Messy Daddy, Boogie Woogie Man feel good. I tell my people, my brothers and sisters, don't you dare miss online. Rewind, recap, relive. Oh yeah.